You're just a kid about 7 years old, and you've just been cut deep. You've never seen so much blood in your entire life, not even in the movies. This is it. You're about to die. I'm going to tell you about how a 7-year-old could get himself in such a life-threatening situation and whether or not he made it out alive. Or so you thought. I'm sure everyone in this class has overreacted to something before, even if they didn't know any better at the time. I'm going to tell you about scary experiences and why things may not be as bad as they seem at first glance. To do this, I'm going to tell you a story of mine, and I'm going to touch on the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. So, the beginning of the story was somewhat like this. I was about 7 years old. I was your average kid who just wanted to play some football with his neighborhood friends over the weekend. So, just like any kid would do, I grabbed my brother, went over to my neighbors' houses, and started asking if they wanted to come outside and play some football. Together, we rounded up about five guys, maybe six, and we all wanted to play some football. So we decided that we shouldn't play in the street like we usually do, so we headed over to the green belt near our neighborhood to play there instead. Now on to the middle of the story. The middle of the story went something like this. We tried to play an actual game of football, but like I said, there was only about 5 of us. We weren't having much fun because the teams were unfair and the games were pretty slow and boring. So we decided to just play some Six Flags instead. So someone was throwing the ball really high and really far, and no one was going for it. So me, being the hotshot kid that I thought I was, I ran as fast as I could to that ball before it could hit the ground. I made a diving catch and caught the ball. I was super excited, but when I rolled over onto my back and tried to sit up, I noticed something odd. There was something in my knee that fell out when I stood up, and for a brief moment, I could see my knee bone, and then blood started gushing out all over. I started crying and freaking out because I've never seen so much blood in my life. Everyone that was with me froze for a moment because they didn't even realize what had happened. But once they did, they had ran to grab parents to help out. So now to touch on the end of the story. The end of the story goes like this. When my parents arrived on the scene, at the time I was still crying and freaking out, but at least I was smart enough to hold the 2 pieces of my leg together to lessen the blood loss. And then they carried me to the car to take me to urgent care to get fixed up. And when I was being carried to the car, I looked back and I noticed the culprit. It was a broken beer bottle that I had landed on, and a piece of glass went right into my knee. In the car ride to the hospital, I had legitimately thought I was going to die. I remember saying over and over and over, "Oh my God, Mom and Dad, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die." I was so scared, I was freaking out. And my parents the whole time were just trying to keep me calm and say, "No, you're going to be fine, you're going to be fine." And of course, I didn't believe them. But obviously, in the end, they were right. Once I had arrived at the hospital, I thought I'd be rushed to the ER because it was such a big deal by the entire staff. They would all take me over and take care of me. But only one doctor came over, brought me to a room, cleaned up my wound, and then gave me stitches and said, "All right, you're good to go." My mind was blown. I was freaking out thinking I was going to die, and then I immediately realized that it wasn't bad at all. I just had to get stitches, and everything was fine. So, in summary, I took you through a story of mine where I told you the beginning, the middle, and the end, where I overreacted drastically to the circumstances I was in. So, next time you're going through something scary, think about the reality of the situation, because things may not be as bad as they seem. Thank you.